So we'll continue to look at problems which have appeared in previous JEE papers, and this is a fairly simple one. Problem 9, it says the negation of the statement, if I become a teacher, then I will open a school, is what?
Okay, so simply I would not like to elaborate in what exactly we have to do in the question.
Right.
Since it's negation, what do we have to do? The negative of this question,
Right.
the statement, right?
Right.
So if I become a teacher, then I'll open a school.
Okay.
So if I become a teacher, then I'll not open a school.
Yeah.
Okay, it simply implies this.
Exactly.
Huh.
So that means that you don't have to actually get into the sentence and find where to put a not. You just infer the meaning in your head, make
Huh.
a coherent sentence, and put it there.
And one more thing you need to keep in mind, that don't go into the initials of the statement, like
Okay.
if, either, and things like that, right?
Okay.
Go into the meaning of the question.
Exactly.
Like for example, what I've said, if I become a teacher, then I'll open a school. The negation is, if I'll become a teacher, then I will not open a school.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Just what is it? I will not open a school.
Correct.
Okay. Other than that, what we can say is, I will become a teacher and I will not open a school.
Okay.
Right. So statements can be molded in any way. You
Right.
just have to go into the meaning.
Always. Okay.
Yeah.
So the concept here is that whenever you are, you want to negate a complicated statement, in fact, any statement at all, always, go to the meaning. If you try to get into the language structure and try to change it, then
Yeah,
it'll
yeah.
mostly, it'll take time. You might have come up with the correct answer, but
Hmm.
it'll take long time because language is not meant to be logical. Then that is why we have this area, otherwise you would not need to study it. Language is not math, and that is why you cannot get inside and work through it. You always have to work with the meaning.
Yeah.
So that was problem 9, and let's move on to the next problem now. This is something which has appeared in JEE question papers in the past.
Huh.
So this says the only statement among the following that is a tautology is what? So
Okay.
once again, when you have such a question, you have to start with what you think is the most likely answer and then move on checking validity of each of them.
Huh.
Okay.
So just keep in mind that for questions like this, since they've asked which of the following is a tautology, right? So tautology means the statement must be always true for
Right.
any value, whether A is true or false, right? A and B. Okay. So for these type of questions, always go through each of the option.
Yeah.
Okay. If that is single choice and you see option B is true, you do not need to check the other
Exactly.
two,
So we
right?
start at what you think, which if you have experience, by the time you sit for entrance examinations, you would have practiced a lot, okay? And you would have an instinct about what might be correct. So you start checking from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So see, I'll tell you some short trick of how to do this question. For example, let's move on to the first part.
Right.
The first part says A and, just 1 minute,
Okay.
A and A or B.
Right.
Okay. So see, whenever there is an and, just think of the left part. Matlab, whatever is singly there. Okay. So since A is there,
Okay.
whenever A is false, the given statement is false.
Correct.
Okay. So straight away you can mark this option as false.
Right. So basically, what we just said was that if there's a huge composite statement, but there is a single or there's a very small statement to one side of and, you have to check the validity of that. Because
Yeah.
if that is false, there's no point checking everything else.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay. Then we move on to the part B. The part B says A or A and B.
Okay.
Okay. Just think, when can or be false? Or can be false when both of them are false.
Right.
Okay. I assume A is false.
Okay.
Okay. Since it is an and,
Okay.
so it will be false whenever A is false, right?
Right.
So you don't have to check anything else. It's
Exactly.
straight away false.
Okay. In fact, this statement is kind of the opposite of tautology. It is
Yeah.
always false.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now let's look at this. Let's look at the D part first. Okay. Why am I looking? You can understand, right?
Right.
Okay. B implies A or A implies B.
Correct.
Okay. You can simply look at this, that if A is false and B is true, the given statement will be false.
Okay.
Okay. Let's look into this. A is false and B is true.
Right.
So the implies would be false.
Okay.
Okay. The and is false.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and since B implies the false statement
Right.
and B is itself true,
Okay.
the entire statement will be a false statement.
Correct. So
Okay.
we are left with option C now. So we know that is the correct answer.
Huh.
But let's still go through it and check what is
Yeah,
going on.
because option C is a little tricky.
Right.
Let's go into how the similar way. Okay, let's solve the C part. C part says the question is A and A implies B
Right.
implies B. Okay, so how had we done the previous question? We had broken the implies part, right?
Right.
So the similar way, A and not of A or B
Right.
implies B.
Okay.
Okay, there's a similar way we had done the previous question, right?
Right.
Okay. We move on to breaking this statement further.
Okay.
Okay, what do we do is A and not of A,
Mm-hmm.
okay, or A and B.
Mm-hmm.
Are you clear till here?
Right.
How did we do this? We simply broke this and into two intersections,
Okay.
basically.
So we distributed the AND.
Huh.
basically.
We basically distributed it. Now what do we need to do further? We need to think whether one of the statement true or false, what would it imply?
Right.
A and not of A. Simply you can write it as A
Right.
and B. A and B implies B.
Right.
Okay. Now further think of what more can be done. See, basically you have to deduce.
Uh-huh.
One way would have been to directly take A true, B true. So there are 4 steps, right?
Okay.
So since this question is big, let's move on further.
Okay.
A and B implies B.
Uh-huh.
So I can write this as not of A and B
Uh-huh.
or B.
Right.
Okay. And we can further deduce it as not of A and B and not of B.
Okay.
Now this seems a little tricky,
Uh-huh.
but just look into what I'm doing.
Okay.
Okay. Simply this and is there.
Right.
Okay. We take the and in the brackets.
Okay.
Okay. To just deduce whether the following statement would be true or false.
Correct.
Okay. And the finally what do we come to? The conclusion we get is not of A
Uh-huh.
and false.
Right.
Okay. Which is ultimately what is it? Not
Where-
of
where
false.
exactly does the false come from? Where
Huh.
does A and false?
Okay, good. There's a good question. This comes from not a, just this statement. I missed. I skipped this step for you.
Okay.
This is not of A and B and not of B.
Okay.
Okay. Are you clear till here? Because this and we have just broken this
Right.
into further parts.
Right.
So you move on to here,
Okay.
and since B and not of B,
Okay.
this statement is always false.
Okay.
Okay.
If
so
this statement is false, and what about this statement? A and not of A.
which one?
A and not of A here.
A and not of A.
Right.
Okay. For that statement, even that could have been deduced from there, false.
Right.
But since A and B is here, and then further B is also there,
Okay.
so we have tried to deduce again the similar steps. What I was trying to say, this implies statement, we want to
Okay,
basically
so-
break the implies
Right.
statement.
So we
Huh.
basically, as long as we have an implied statement, we can't work with pure logic. So that is why we first try to get rid of that.
Exactly.
Right.
Huh. And finally, we get the negation of false, and you know the negation of false is true.
Okay.
So this means that this question, this option is a tautology.
Oh, okay.
So I know the process is rigorous for question
Exactly.
part
In fact,
C.
I'd like you to work through it again gradually and explain the important points only, because now we have written work here, so we can refer to it again.
Okay. So see, first of all, you write the complete statement.
Right.
Okay. A implies B implies B.
Okay.
Then you'll move on to thinking that since here is an implies,
Mhm.
we need to break this statement.
Right.
We broke it into parts.
Okay.
Okay. And then we realized all of a sudden that this is a statement. There's a compound kind of statement, right?
Okay.
There's 2 parts. So what we did is we got the or in both of them.
Right.
Like for example, A and not of
Okay.
A.
Again, we distributed the.
We distributed it basically.
Right.
Okay. Now again we have an implies over here.
Right.
So our main task would be to break the imply further.
Okay.
Okay. So from here we moved on to not of A and B or B.
Okay.
Okay. And then again what we did is we just took the and not common.
Okay.
Why we took the not common? To see basically from here, if I want to deduce it directly,
Uh-huh.
that could have been done in the very first step, right?
Right.
Taking A and B as true and false.
Uh-huh.
Since I need to prove it through getting things like false and true directly,
Okay.
so my aim would be to get something like false over here, false or true over here.
Right.
Okay. So I taken the not common, the negation of the entire statement, and then all of us again the same step is followed over here. For the and.
Okay, fine.
Huh.
So again, the missing link here is that since we took a negation of this statement outside, so
Mhm.
A and not A, which was false, becomes true.
Yeah.
And that is why this has not been included in the next statement.
Exactly.
Okay, so that was what caused the confusion in my head actually.
Okay.
Fine. So now we have a link about how to go through about it. So I'll just summarize the solution for you. We have to check whether which of these statements is a tautology.
Hmm.
So we surfed through the first and second, and we could see that they are obviously false.
Hmm.
For the fourth one, what we did was we tried to, we kind of had an intuition that it was false. So we just had to find one example where it was false.
Yeah.
And even if you find one example, it is no more a tautology.
Yeah.
So then although we knew C was, the answer, and in time constrained situations, we would expect you to just mark it and move ahead. But for now, we wanted to show you how exactly it is. a tautology.
Because basically, see, C and D part was similar.
Exactly.
Okay, so we took only one simple step to prove part D, but we proved this statement entirely. The reason
Exactly.
was just to prove it
And
in a mathematical
proving
way.
C, the only thing we did was remove this implies. Okay, and the way to do is take a negation of the left and take an or with the right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did that once inside for removing this, and then we did the same thing outside.
Yeah.
Right. So
And always we'll try to distribute whatever and an or is.
exactly.
there.
In fact, in certain situations, you might also have to apply De Morgan's law.
Yeah.
Actually,
But
here
which have
we
been
didn't-
already covered in the theory.
Exactly. Here we didn't need to do that, but you might get expressions in which you would need to break down things using De Morgan's law.
Yeah.
So this was problem 10, and let's move on to the 11th one now.
Okay.
So once again, we'll look at a problem which has appeared in past papers. This is problem 11. It asks us to consider these statements. P is that Suman is brilliant, Q is that Suman is rich, and R is that Suman is honest. So, okay, and we are given that the negation of the statement Suman is brilliant and dishonest if and only if Suman is rich can be expressed as what? So first of all, we start by converting it from language to logic.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, some of the common mistakes I would like to first
Right.
focus upon. Suman is brilliant. I wrote it P.
Okay.
And dishonest. What happens is people do not look into the what is written in the statement.
Right.
They directly move on since it is dishonest.
Okay.
So that might be statement Q only.
Okay.
Okay. Whereas since it is
obviously
dishonest,
R prime.
that would be R, and that also the negation of R.
Right.
Okay. So P and not of Q.
Not of Q.
Okay. If and only
In fact,
if
it's not of R, I guess.
not of R. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not of R.
Correct.
Okay. Now what is it saying further? If and only if Suman is rich. Okay. So this is not if and only if Suman is rich. Q. Now some of the problems here is, see, if and only if whatever is written for if and only if, it is written for the combined statement. Suman is brilliant and dishonest.
Okay.
So you have to take this combined
Inside
statement,
a
remember,
bracket. Right.
inside the bracket,
Okay.
and if and only if Q.
Okay.
Is the answer complete?
Is the answer
Do you
complete?
think the answer is complete?
Consider the following statement.
Huh.
Suman is brilliant and dishonest if and only if Suman is rich can be expressed as what? Okay. So, okay. Why is it not complete?
It is not complete because we do need to take the negation of the statement.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
You have a negation over here. Do not forget
Whoa.
to take the negation.
So
Okay.
I expect, since I fell for it, I would expect half the people to fall
Yeah,
for it, right?
exactly. And you can just further write it in this way also. I don't need to actually write this, but I'm just telling this to you. Not R.
Right.
Okay, so just don't get confused that since this is the first part of the statement and this is the second part, implies that this has to be the solution. Even this can be the solution
Okay,
for a
so
multiple
in
choice
fact,
question.
there might not be that option, and there might be this option, and some people might be tempted to think that this is the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
It is not. Whenever there's if and only if, whenever there's double implication, the order of the statements is irrelevant.
Exactly.
Okay, so this was problem 11, and we'll look at the next one now.